but it was really the first season. But they did a good job of basically taking it and truncating it into a 2-hour movie. So I wasn't necessarily against it, and the over the top explosions, whatever. I'm fine with it. It's just afterwards where it just gets so damn lazy with it. That's it. It's like you can't just do it. You have to give me a story at least a little bit with it. He blew a lot of shit up in Bad Boys. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with it. Bad Boys was a badass movie. But what happened after Bad Boys? Storyline goes down. Fucking explosions go up.
Yeah.
Martin Lewis got fat. Martin Lawrence got fat, rather. Notice how they didn't even hide it in Bad Boys for Life? Because like Will Smith is still like jacked and cut, and still totally getting jacked and cut for movies.
Well, he's a Gemini man, to be fair.
Yeah, fair enough. But like, that's still like he will still take his shirt off in a movie in a second, right? They didn't even hide it with Martin. They were like, yeah, don't even try and get into shape. Just fucking show up and say the lines. I mean,
Martin Lawrence knows he's a comedian first.
Yes.
Yeah. And on top of that, his character, that would make sense for a story arc.
Yeah. No, it did. Well, I just, when it comes to taking the same list and all that those were absolutely on my list, and I took them off again, knowing that one of you two was going to hit it. So I'm like, no, I know my brothers well. I'm like, all right, someone's going to say it, because I agreed with you, particularly with G.I. Joe. I want to see Duke have PTSD is what, I agree, that we really seriously need, let's take it seriously. Right. Duke's been in Afghanistan for all these fucking years. Like, it's going to take a toll. Yeah. It's not okay.
Don't fucking give me Marlon Wayans in a power suit and call it a day. I mean, fuck all of you.
That was, I agree.
Yeah,
and the only thing I'll hit this and I'm going to move on. The only thing they did get somewhat right that did make me happy was,
don't you say it,
was Snake Eyes and
yep.
Yeah, and Stormcloud. I liked that was the one part they kept that true to the Marvel comics, where they were ninja brothers and what have you. So, all right, that was the part. Wow, yeah, people can't even see the disgusted look on Rashawn's face right now.
I mean, go ahead, Josh. We can spend hours on this. Go ahead, man.
They're ninjas. How deep character we got to go? All right. They were ninja movies from the 80s.
If I have one more person tossing a white ninja at me, I'm a fucking loser. That's all I'm saying. Y'all got a lot. You don't need to be taking ninjas.
True. Though till that movie, I wasn't sure if Snake Eyes was white, because everyone wanted Stormcloud. Everyone wanted those two, but everyone wanted those two toys. We wanted Snake Eyes and we wanted Stormcloud as soon as we saw this too.
Don't forget, we're the generation that had to grow up with American Ninja. So I'm about done with that bullshit. Don't stop it. Stop it. Next year you're gonna give me a Shaka Zulu movie, but the best warrior was some Brad Pitt looking dude. Fuck it. No, stop it.
It's not impossible.
There is far worse.
It's not. Are you challenging Hollywood?
I want you to time. I want to time out on this. I just want to reel this in just for this last disgusting thought, and that will keep you, maybe the two of you, up at night. There is a movie.
It'll be Scarlett Johansson.
There's a movie. There is a movie worse than American Ninja, and it was called Jim Kata. Okay, that was starred. I look it up right now, Rashawn. I know you got the computer right there, so I forget who it stars, but he was an American gymnast. So the entire gimmick of the movie was that they moved gymnastics into the martial arts scenes, including a scene at the climax of the movie is him in a quote village full of crazies. I saw it in the fucking theater, and I was literally the only person in the theater. Like, that's how hardcore 80s I was, man. I got my card. That's how it is. And they were in a quote village full of crazies. And they managed to make a pommel horse in the middle of it. So he's doing the pommel horse while throwing his legs around and kicking the crap out of hundreds of villagers are trying to kill him.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
And he's white, and he's Caucasian for sure. He's just
as you do,
Caucasian as he should be in the Big Lebowski. But
by the way, rest in power, Kurt Thomas. He died last year.
Ah, all right. So that was, yes. Actually, a reference made to that film many times on the wonderful show Mystery Science Theater 3000. They love to, if they saw a bad fight move, they'd all yell Jim Kata. So that was just references within a reference. So and let's face it, this podcast is sort of an MST3K. I'm gonna start myself off, give myself the 2 minutes here, and I'm gonna say that I want to see. We're going back to where I went in previous weeks, but I want to see Logan's Run remade because I still think the themes on it are really salient. It kind of was in the movie Gattaca. So to go off the Ethan Hawke film.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman. The themes are there. It's the same idea of utopian, perfect society and that question. And we're kind of starting to truly face these issues now. Mm-hmm. Right, with everything between 23andMe and CRISPR and all of that, like really where do just the regular babies fall into all this, right? The two people whose mama met the papa and came about by some accident of lottery and birth. What's left for the rest of us, right? Especially as we start to do this, and how old are people going to be allowed to be, and what we might live longer and longer, right? The fact of the matter is, my wife is an occupational therapist. She's talking about advancements in medical care, and despite the fact that we're in the middle of a particularly ugly pandemic, where America seems to be determined to rush to the top of the pile in deaths, other than that,
we're number one.
We're number one, exactly, right? And our life expectancy seems to have gone down thus far. I'm still of the opinion that we're not necessarily going that way full time yet. I'm still going to wait and see, especially because of the fact that if there's anything unprecedented here, it's how fast we have actually developed vaccines. For everyone who feels that this is so long and interminable, trust me, folks, read some history. This is nothing. But I just would be interested to see what you could do with some more serious actors and what you could take and how you could do some things seriously. If you took the material, as you say, take it a little more seriously, add in there, the sets, the special effects could actually help you out a little bit and give you that world. What happens in a world where no one is allowed to live beyond 30. And once again, that's, according to Tucker Carlson, we're already there. But
all right,
give it to you, gentlemen. What do you think?
No, I like that. I think that would fall into what I was saying before. Like, don't fuck with it too much. Just give us some special effects and acting class. But we really don't want it. We just want it just so there's less parts in it where you're kind of like, oh, yeah. Because, whatever, special effects or some line was delivered terribly. You want to be able to move past that and just make it that better cinematic experience. But yeah, I think that's a solid choice. I like that.
I would still be for keeping someone with Farrah Fawcett hair, though. I'm okay with that. I'm okay if we gave her a little nod.
At least one. You got to throw in an Easter egg these days. So
exactly.
The funny thing is, I feel like they've tried to remake Logan's Run a lot of different times without saying they're doing it. One that comes off the top of my mind is The Island.
Absolutely.
You can argue that the Divergent series is basically taking the world of Logan's Run and breaking it up and then giving people classifications based off of their unique powers. I would push back on two things. I agree. I think that would be really cool, but I feel my central argument for any remake is that if all you're going to do is add special effects, then don't do it. It brings us back to when George Lucas decided to ruin 3 of our favorite movies by adding a bunch of extra effects that he said were always there. And we're like, bro, we were with you when we could see the wires with the TIE fighters. Like we were cool, man. We were with you.
Oh.
We weren't fighting you. Don't do this. And he's just like, no, we're going to add these lights. We're going to add these lasers. We're going to add these. It's like, fuck you, man. Stop doing that. And I would also push back that Michael York actually was a pretty esteemed actor. The guy.
I don't think the acting is terrible. I just think
he wasn't terrible.
Michael York, Richard Jordan at the time was at the top of his game. Michael Anderson Jr. as the doc. I mean, Peter Ustinov.
Yes.
Peter Ustinov
Randolph,
is in it.
you got that movie actually had a decent amount of talent, and they weren't necessarily acting bad. They just were. If anything, they were being appreciative of the movie that they were in. They weren't trying to be showing up being Lawrence of Arabia.
They knew. They knew what they were in, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially,
Agreed.
Especially Peter Ustinov, because he's one of my favorite actors. I love Peter Ustinov.
Oh, he's great.
Right?
I would say, actually, that's I think he does such a great job in that role. Honestly,
yeah.
But I agree. I think that world, the premise, everything about it is so ripe for more stories. So I would agree to go back to it. I just don't think it would be a good idea to just remake it. However, as I pointed out in the beginning of this episode, there have been times where if it's done so well, it can fool you if you're not so attached to the source material.
Yes.
I.e. The Departed.
Yeah, that's true. No, I think it's all depends on how it does. I just a slight facelift, I guess, just for some of the, some of the 70s sets, I think is really it. Hell, but I agree with you. The acting was good. I think the script overall and its premise is still there. Just as you say, I don't think it needs a whole lot. I don't think you need to do the special edition, like you say.
Great pick, though.
Yeah. All right. Good times. All right. Great. So going back around, let's go to our second for Greg here real quick. We were on the clock.
I'm gonna go back. We haven't done very much music, so I'm gonna take it to music. I'm gonna say go back to when white men can sing. Take it back to that little period in the 80s with Michael McDonald, Steve Winwood, hell, Chicago. I think Christopher Cross was still around, but you know what? I'll throw Christopher Cross in there
you
too.
got to.
I'm gonna throw George Michael in there, just like that period of time when white dudes could throw down. Because before then, you had just shit. The voices weren't great. Like, even if you love the Beatles, you can't say they have great voices. You have to begrudgingly tolerate Bob Dylan's voice. You know what I mean? Like, these were even.
I don't know if anyone's calling him a good singer.
Yeah, it goes back to Bob Dylan, a good songwriter, right? No one thinks he's
right, songwriter. But even Robert Plant, a unique voice, but I wouldn't call it a great voice. But in that period in the 80s, I mean, who was it that Michael McDonald? You would see black and white women, you'd see black women and white men making songs together. So Michael McDonald and Patti LaBelle,
yep.
I mean,
and
George Michael and Aretha Franklin?
Aretha Franklin, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You stood in the ring with Aretha Franklin, son. Come on. Yeah. You shouldn't even be invited to that party. So, yeah, I'd like to see white guys that can sing again. And, yeah, Robin Thicke doesn't count.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. I love me some Michael McDonald. I love that you added in Christopher Cross, because I've got just 2 hours to go to get to the border of Mexico. And you're right. That stuff, it still holds up, without a doubt, I mean, and it does take a certain, it takes a certain kind of chutzpah, for lack of better words, that I got. When Michael McDonald, when he joins the Doobies, right, they make Taking It to the Streets.
Doobie,
right?
yeah.
Kind of,
yeah.
That's kind of a revolutionary song, It's a bunch of
I don't know. It depends on which family reunion you're at, because that song gets laughed at a couple of family reunions.
I'm sure it does, but it holds up though. Like, you don't hate it. You don't hate it. You may laugh at it. I get it. You may laugh at it, but it holds up, right?
I'm not against Michael McDonald. I'm not against calling him Triple M. I think that's awesome, but Take It to the Streets is like the lampooning of the whole thing. That's what they went over the top.
Shout out to Time Suck and Triple M, Michael motherfucking McDonald, right?
That is a musical version of a white guy saying, let's speak some jive.
It was Elvis Presley in the ghetto. Ghettos. Like, please don't try to relate. Please stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Please stop. But yeah, Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel.
Oh, and Phil Collins and